Sambaluma estrangeiro. Olele de Gigioro marinheiro. Olele de Gigioro marinheiro. Sambaluma estrangeiro. Oh, sim, sim, sim. Oh, não, não, não. Oh, sim, sim, sim. Oh, não, 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 não. Oh, sim, sim, sim. Oh, não, não, não. Oh, não, sim, não, não, sim, não. Oh, sim, sim, sim. Oh, não, não, não. Oh, não, 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 não. No, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, sim, sim, sim. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, now, see now, oh, now, see now, now, see now. Oh, sim, sim. Oh, now.
I hear you singing your capoeira song.
Well, you got to do every now and then, or else you forget what you used to know, and if you used to know that, then you always have to know that, or else you'll forget about it. Oh, now.
Pandera.
The pandero. I think here we call it the tambourine. When I was going to Reverend A.T. Tilden Sunrise Baptist Church, they call it the tambourine. You have to go to that good Baptist church to get that feeling. But we're not at that this point. I want to continue reading the piece that I wrote about being in Cancun for a week, courtesy of the African Time newspaper. The newspaper was called the African Times. I wrote a column called Media Watch. And what I did was just simply watch the media and wrote about it, what I saw. This particular little trip was like a side thing. And I started
And the
reading.
publisher?
Excuse me?
And the publisher? The publisher's name.
The publisher name was, of course, Charles Anyiam.
Yes, okay.
How could you ever forget that?
I certainly can.
So, here we are, part 2. I read part 1 yesterday. And it's a bit longish, but not too much so. Incidentally, before I start doing this, Cancun is a gorgeous place. Cancun is where the Maya nobles went on vacation back in pre-conquistador times. And you can see even now, despite the modern garbage and so forth and so on, you can see what it's like. The water's blue, the sand is white, it's gorgeous. Here's what happened. December 2nd, 1998, 6:45 p.m., Cancun time. The Aeromexico spaceship circles for landing at the Cancun airport. A beautifully arranged pattern of lights gleam up at us. It isn't an LAX approach, which gives the impression that all of the light bulbs in the world have been lit and spread across the Los Angeles basin. No, nothing that glitzy. Just 5 hours from Los Angeles via Mexico City, and the light display is different, more exotic, better designed. I'm coming down out of the sky with so much earthbound stuff on my mind. I can't force myself to forget that the Yucatan Peninsula is within walking distance of Veracruz, the scene for African slave importation during the time of the Spanish slave business. It's interesting. You go to Mexico and somehow, a lot of people would like to have you forget that slaves were imported through several ports in Mexico City, just like they were imported through New Orleans or New York or wherever. And right over there is Obeah, Jamaica, and Voodoo, Haiti. Strangely, none of the usual suspects has ever focused on the complex relationship that existed between the Africans in Cuba, Jamaica, and the Yucatan, and Florida. A casual look at any map shows the proximity of each of these places to the other. Africans did escape from Cuban slavery by sailing to Florida, just as many Cubans have done in the modern era, the Madelistas. Many Africans in the Caribbean captivity did escape to the Yucatan to be swallowed up by Indian simpaticos and the jungle. We needn't depend on Olmec craniums to detail an African presence in the Yucatan. You've seen these big guys look like they have football helmets on with the big lips and big noses. Where did they come from? I've been fascinated by the African connections in this part of the world, from the Olmec Africoid football heads down to the existence of Spanish-speaking African communities that dot the coastlines and have been there for many generations. Once again, for some odd reason, no one has investigated the existence of these communities, obviously so far from the place of their origin. The African-Mexican connection has been such a well-disguised secret that no one in any Mexican or American school system wants to unmask it till this very day. You get pinches and bits. The basis for all the reasons why we have not been exposed to this knowledge is purely racist. Beginning with the Spanish conquest of Mexico, the Spaniards made every effort to disconnect the indigenous people from their history. Nothing personal about their inhumane treatment of the conquered people, just a matter of business as usual, a way to entrench their own values and culture. It certainly wouldn't serve their purposes to make the presence of Africans and their subsequent influence a matter of record. That attitude is still pervasive in the Mexican educational system. America's effort to limit and degrade Africans, African cultures, traditions, and history is too well known to dwell on. On the ground, all is upbeat, upscale. We're being seduced by the Yucatan's balmy evening air and the congenial young man who is chauffeuring us to the Caesar Park Hotel. Would anyone care for a soft drink, a cold beer? This is in the shuttle bus. I'm sure my fellow travelers would agree that the first impression has to be the most positive. The chauffeur was not a servile type doing a menial job, but rather gave the impression of someone welcoming guests to his hotel. That kind of vibe makes a difference, and we were to learn over the course of our 5-day visit that that was the prevailing vibe. Senora Lucia Samaniego de Trevino, the communications manager and our hostess, gave us a quick, lovely lesson on how it is possible to welcome 4 cynical journalists to a $480 million hotel and make it seem like something folksy and natural. How much did it cost to build this place? Oh, about $450 million. Dollars, not pesos, dollars. I believe she said something like, "Welcome to the Caesar Park," or was it simply "welcome"? Whatever she said was reinforced by a firm handshake. We were then escorted to apartments that would have been called rooms in other hotels. A few words about the Caesar Park Cancun. The hotel, 426 rooms and suites, is built in the shape of a pyramid and is gorgeously landscaped. There are expensive rooms and suites and more expensive rooms and deluxe suites, and they all offer the guests a superb view. On one side, there's the pristine blue of the Nachute Lagoon, and on the other side, the Caribbean Sea. A golfer's heaven with a par 72, 18-hole golf course bordering the lagoon, not owned by anybody named Trump. Complete with a well-stocked pro shop and golf pros. Mr. Akiri T. Yamamoto, golf director, George De Cerveria, executive assistant manager, and Lorena Venchis, director of group sales, available to deal with any golfing problem. I don't play golf. I didn't become aware of the tennis courts, the fitness center, the kiddies club room, and the water sports facilities until the next clear sunny day. Remember, the average temperature year-round is 80 degrees.
Oh.
Spices for Mexican specialties, Argentine grilled meats and Italian delicacies, your choice of pasta. Japanese cuisine at Serenita, the restaurant at the beach, 75 yards east. And 24-hour round service, 24-hour room service that offered gourmet midnight breakfasts. I ate so much lobster, I thought I had grown claws. I could feel a lot of the tension that normally occupy a day in Los Angeles beginning to retreat. I was deep in Mayaland. The morning of my first day at the great Caesar Park could have been the first scene from a pleasant dream. The trip was definitely not going to be a hard sell. The schedule called for breakfast at Leisure, Spices Restaurant, an excursion to Xcaret. The X in Mayan is Ish. Xcaret is about 50 miles from Caesar Park, and in ancient times was the scene of ceremonies and pelote, the life or death ball game that the Mayas played. The winners were given valuables, the losers lost everything, including their lives. The hell of a game. It took exactly one day to determine the difference between the recent arrivals and those who had been there for a day or two. The recent arrivals were still frowning from their collective memories of European snows, Chicago winds, Tokyo traffic, California violence, whatever. The ones who had been there for longer than a day had obviously been given a license to smile, to be at ease. The Caesar Park, Cancun, gave me the first opportunity to see a hotel staff that didn't take the first opportunity to hide from the guests. Everyone, from the man chauffeuring to the maids cleaning the rooms, actually seemed delighted to see us. It was a refreshing change. After breakfast at Leisure, onward to Xcaret. Xcaret must be one of the best kept eco-archaeological theme parks in the world. It has been labeled nature's sacred paradise, and I would be the last to dispute that claim. It's mind-boggling. Mexico at its best, a private company whose primary concerns are country, history, and natural resources. It goes on and on and on, off the record, but I can tell you after many hours of sitting down in the lounge, sipping exquisite margaritas made with wonderful tequila, and nibbling on all sorts of little nibbable things. By the time we came to the end of our visit, several of us had just simply become totally indulgent. We could barely talk. We didn't have to open our mouths or anything. You just held up your hand and someone would bring you something.
Wow.
So that was Cancun.
I like it. I like it.
Tomorrow we will get back on the stick and continue with a look at Africa. And this one will be dealing with how people, African Americans, look at Ghana with the president of the country at that time was Jerry Rawlings, who had a very interesting African regime. You know, for some reason, I don't know, whether it be Mobutu or Kabila or one of the other people who want to get in office and just stay there for the rest of their natural lives and then into the next generation. Rawlings had an unusual thing happen as a lieutenant in the Ghanaian Air Force. He became distressed at the corruption and all the stuff that was happening that was negative in Ghana. Got together with some friends of his, pulled a coup, took over the government, straightened stuff out, and then stepped away and had civilian elections. And they elected some other person, I can't think of his name, who fell into the same little rut of corruption and all the rest of the stuff. Rollins rode his little white horse back onto the scene and ousted him.
Wow. Exceptional.
To set the government straight. And then retired again and had civilian elections. And since that point in time, things seem to be, perking right along.
A little bit.
But it's kind of an unusual political career. Having said that, I'll get into the reading of it tomorrow.
All right, looking forward to that, and definitely totally enjoyed Cancun.
Cancun.
Okay, and you'll just have to, off the cuff, one reading or one session, talk about when you were in Spain.
Oh my goodness, that's such a good idea.
Yes, okay.
All of these things will be done. All
right, places you like.
Places that I like.
Gotcha.
I don't think I like any place better than Cafe Zola.
Aww.
This is where I get my ups from.
Well,
as Master Tom says, this is where I come to up myself.
That's where you come up yourself. You can come up yourself anytime you like, Mr. Hawkins. All right, your website is www.odiehawkins.com. Your books can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Book Baby, Archway Publishing.
There you go.
Let's see here, iUniverse, Author House. And just Google Odie Hawkins, and you can see the YouTubes and the many accomplishments in the past, present, and not yet the future of Odie Hawkins.